Today on Stock Charts in Focus, we're introducing a huge update to one of our most popular chart packs. So big, in fact, that we've even changed the name. The Tensile Trading chart pack has now become Stock Market Mastery, and we've got a huge update to share with you today. Now, this is going to be fun because this is actually my chart pack that I share with my Tensile Trading co-author and longtime Stock Charts contributor, Gatis Roze. So we're going to dig into all the lists, dig into all the charts, show you everything that's included in this huge monster, very popular chart pack, and all the updates that are coming your way. Of course, you know what it is. It's all new. It's all here. It's Stock Charts in Focus. All right, my friends, welcome to the show, Stock Charts in Focus. Of course, our product focus show here on the channel where we dig into the site, dive into the tools, show you around the features, and help you get more value out of stock charts. My name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com. And today, as always, going to be a fun episode. We're doing something a little bit different. You know, on this show, we share a lot of charts. We talk about the different tools and lists and all the different features that I use, of course, as an active trader, active investor. So today, we're actually sharing a little bit more of that, leaning into a little bit more of my process, my charts, my lists, my organization on stock charts by talking about the big update that we're rolling out today for the Stock Market Mastery ChartPack. Now, if you're wondering what a chart pack is, this is actually a way to get chart lists installed into your account. We have a whole collection of chart packs, which include a ton of different chart lists and pre-formatted charts, all organized, all labeled, all named for you. It's basically an easy way to get sort of a stock charts framework, a way to use stock charts installed right into your account. So instead of having to set up dozens of lists and tons of charts and customize settings and figure out names and figure out where all the symbols are, with chart packs, you can click one button and get a ton of stuff installed in your account. Now we have chart packs from David Keller. We have chart packs from Arthur Hill, from Carl and Aaron Swenlin. We've got chart packs that Stock Charts has created as well. Tons and tons of these that are available for you. One of our most popular, though, has actually been, for the last few years, has been my chart pack, Stock Market Mastery. We used to call it Tensile Trading. We're actually changing the name as part of this update. But this is the chart pack that I've put together with my Tensile Trading co-author, father, and longtime contributor here on Stock Charts, Gatis Roze. Now, it has been one of the most popular chart packs. It's also one of the biggest chart packs. There is a ton included in this chart pack. And as you'll see today, I think any stock charts user, no matter who you are, whether you follow our process, whether you buy into our routines and our structure or not, no matter who you are, you can actually get a ton of value out of this chart pack. It really is kind of a fantastic starting place, a great way to just build out your account in one click with tons and tons of lists all pre-formatted for you. So we're going to take a look at all that. And we're going to dive into the chart pack, talk about what's changed, talk about how to get it, and talk about all the things that are included when you install this new Stock Market Mastery chart pack. So lots to cover on today's show. As always, let's get right to it. So we are starting here on the members dashboard. And now chart packs are an important piece of the members dashboard when you install them because they are chart lists. They get installed into your account. They are added. They are yours. And the best place to see those really is here on the members dashboard. So this is where we're actually going to spend a lot of time today talking about what's included in the Stock Market Mastery chart pack with this huge update that we've just done. Now, this is actually really the best place to see all the lists kind of in one place. So that's what we're going to do with today's show. We're really going to spend a lot of time digging into all of the lists that are included in the Stock Market Mastery chart pack. So before we do that, I do want to remind everyone, if you're interested in chart packs, if you're curious to explore these, if you're learning about them, you can actually scroll all the way down to the bottom of your account. I have a ton of chart lists in my account, so it takes a little bit to get there. But down here at the bottom, there is a Manage Chart Packs button. Now, you do have to be either an extra or a pro member to take advantage of chart packs because you need lots of lists in your account. They are chart lists. They get installed into your account. It's basically as if we're sitting there next to you creating these chart lists kind of with you and putting them into your account. So you do need to be either an extra or a pro member to access these. But once you click on that Manage ChartPacks page, you should be able to see all of the different chart packs that are available. So this is where you can come, you can learn more about these, you can install them, you can click on each one to actually get a little bit more information. But when you come here, this is where you're also going to see the Stock Market Mastery ChartPack by Gatis and Grayson Roze, if you have installed it in the past. We'll talk at the end of the show kind of about how this chart pack works. But by the way, you do have this option at the bottom to purchase chart packs. So if we give this a click, this is actually going to take us over to the chart packs area of the StockCharts store. So we have a few more chart packs that aren't listed on that manage page available here. A lot of them are really kind of companions for books, but this is also where you'll find the Stock Market Mastery chart pack page. So you can come here, you can give this a click. This is where you can come to learn more about everything that's included in this chart pack. We actually even give you some bios about ourselves, but we even give you some sample charts here. So this is where you can come, you can learn a little bit more about what's included here. You can also purchase the chart pack here though. So it is $50. Once you purchase this is kind of the key. We'll cover this briefly, maybe touch on it a little bit later in the show, but when you purchase this chart pack, it's installed into your account. All 77 of these chart lists, really thousands of charts that are included in the whole thing, everything gets installed into your account. That is never going to go away. So this is a one-time purchase here. $50 gets you tons and tons and tons of chart lists, tons of content added to your account. With that, you get 4 quarters worth of updates. So we generally do a big quarterly update every quarter. We have new charts, we have new additions, we have things that have changed. We're keeping up with different groups that have changed, all that good stuff. So we give you 4 quarters worth of updates for free. After a year, basically, 4 quarters, if you want to keep getting those updates, you can purchase the chart pack again for another year. Or you can say, hey, I like it how it is. It's totally fine. I'm going to leave it like this. So it can either be a one-time purchase or it can be sort of a subscription, depending on how you want to use it. That'll make a little bit more sense as we get into everything. But this is where you can actually come learn more about that chart pack. You can get here by going to store.stockcharts.com, click that chart packs tab up at the top, or through that chart pack manager page. You can also get there as well. So let's go back. We'll show you what's included in this chart pack. So again, we're going to spend a little bit of time here on the dashboard, kind of going through everything that's included in the chart pack. When you install it, I do want to give you a little bit of background on kind of how this works before we dive into all of the lists. Now I'm scrolling. What I am scrolling down to is this big block of lists that all start with GR. So when you install a chart pack, the lists that come with that chart pack have a specific sort of naming convention to them. For instance, in Dave Keller's chart pack, all of the lists that are included in his chart pack will start with DK. In our case, Gatis and Grayson Roze, we both have names that start with G. So we've used GR as our little sort of naming convention. And then a whole bunch of numbering to actually order the lists in a specific way. But when you install this chart pack, what you get is all of these lists that start with GR. Now we're going to go through this whole framework. We're going to talk about the structure to it, talk about what's included. But the idea here is that when you install this chart pack, you get all of these GR lists installed into your account. They're lists that we have spent years cultivating, years crafting, years building up and designing from scratch and then evolving over time. These are the lists that Gatis and I use in our own approach as active traders, active investors, the list that we have used for many, many, many years. So really what you're getting with this chart pack is our approach installed right into your account. You don't have to go set anything up. You don't have to go, worrying about how to create these, how to sort of recreate them. If you've seen anything that you like from us, this is a great way to just install our stuff into your account. All of it comes pre-formatted, pre-structured and named and all of that, and it gets installed right into your account. Now you can start to use that as it is, or you can use it really as kind of a source of inspiration. You can say, hey, I want to take all of these chart lists, build off of them, customize them, make them my own. There are tons of different ways to use this chart pack. So one of the key things that I want to cover today before we dive into all of the lists, this will start to make sense as we go through it. You can use this chart pack really in 2 different ways. You can use it as our system, our structure, our routines, our framework. If you buy into the Tensile Trading, the Stock Market Mastery, Gatis and Grayson Roze approach, you can use these lists as they come, really kind of follow the markets in the same way that we do, follow the markets through our eyes, if you will, through our lists. That's one way to use it. The other way to use this chart pack, though, is to say, this is a complete collection of every symbol, every chart, every data point, every list, every group that I could really ever want. You'll see that as we go through it. This is probably the easiest way in one click to build out your StockCharts account with lists for everything, for all the major market groups, all of the different indexes, index components, sectors, industry groups, different asset classes like bonds, commodities, even cryptos. All of that stuff is included in the chart pack. And when you install it, you get it all. So really, if you want to just kind of build out your StockCharts account in one click, get tons and tons of lists that you can start with as kind of a starting place, you can start to modify those, bring in your own settings, your own indicators, your own visualizations, all the things that you want to change. This is still a great way to just build out your StockCharts account in one click. Use it as a starting place. So in either case, whether you sort of buy into our framework and you want to use this chart pack as is, or if you just want to use it to get all of the charts, get all the lists, get all the data, that's actually another totally valid way. We see this as a teaching tool. We started the chart pack about a decade ago, really as a teaching tool, as a way to show people what we use, how we've set up our accounts. Now it's evolved over time. So when we say that we're doing a big update, the chart pack, actually, the original chart pack, Tensile Trading chart pack, came out about 10 years ago, believe it or not. I know we've got some users that have been with us using this chart pack since day one. Believe it or not, it's been about 10 years since this thing launched. So it's been a long time since we've gone back really sort of to the drawing board, to the start, and said, is this exactly what we want? Now, I mentioned that we do those quarterly updates. So for the last 10 years, the chart pack has evolved every quarter. They've been smaller updates, though. You know, our process as active investors, as active traders, our process is constantly evolving, constantly changing, and we've incorporated those changes every quarter into the chart pack. So it's grown, it's evolved. Also, thanks to the thousands of users that have installed this chart pack and given us feedback over the years, given us ideas and comments and all that stuff, all that input, that sort of user-generated, community-generated feedback has also helped the chart pack evolve. But over the last 10 years, things have changed dramatically in so many different ways, especially in the markets, in our process, in the way that we approach everything. So it's been a long time since we've really kind of gone back to the drawing board and said, from scratch, is this the best way to organize everything? Does this really map onto the way that we use stock charts in our list and everything? So what we've done really with this update is go back to the drawing board, redesign everything, update everything. We've gone through every single list, every single chart. We have changed a ton. So if you're familiar with the chart pack, this is probably going to seem like a pretty crazy update, but it really is our first major mega overhaul in about the last 10 years. And there's so much included in here. We've brought a lot more of my process into it as well, sort of done a better job of blending Gatis's approach and my approach. They're very similar approaches, but there are differences. And so we've got a little bit more of a blend. But you know, all of the things that I talk about on this show and in other presentations, all the routines and the lists and the organization and everything that I talk about, that's all included in this chart pack. So if you've ever followed along with this show and thought, hey, it'd be really great to get some of this stuff, well, this chart pack is probably for you, helps you get all of that. So anyways, with all that kind of background out of the way, I know that was a lot of background, hopefully gives you a sense though, some of the different ways to use this, how the chart pack has evolved over time. I want to spend a little bit of time going through what's included. As you can see up on the screen, we've got a huge block of all these GR lists, about 77 of them, I believe. And so this is what's included in the chart pack when you install it. I want to start at the top and just go down, give you a sense of all of these lists, give you a sense of what you'll get when you install this chart pack. The key is that this is all built around routines. For us, for Gatis and myself, routines are everything. We talk a lot about discipline. We talk a lot about having a structure. We talk a lot about having a very structured, disciplined, routine-driven approach to the market, starting at the top down and drilling through every corner of the markets. Again, from that highest level down into the individual stock level, down into your portfolio and all that. That's what we've tried to build here with this Stock Market Mastery Chart Pack. We've really tried to take that structure, that idea of routines, investment routines, market routines, analysis routines, and build that into a chart list framework. Again, this is the same framework that we use. These are the same lists directly out of our accounts that we use to watch the markets on a daily basis and a weekly basis. So you're really getting everything that we use. So starting up at the top, we do have our little intro list that just gives you a little bit of info about the chart pack, a little bit of background. But we dive into my weekly and daily lists from there. Now, I've talked about these on the show. We've actually done a couple of shows on Stock Charts and Focus, really kind of going through these lists, showing you what's in them. But we start off at the top of the chart pack with those weekly lists that are very, very important to me. These are the lists that I run through every single weekend without fail. Some of the most important lists in my account. We have similar lists for daily review. So we have all of those included as well. But again, talking about routines, talking about structure, this is how I go through my lists every single week. Because I've set these up, I can just sort of run through my highest level market evaluation, sort of the longer term view market evaluation lists. I run through all of the major global equity indexes, then down into the US equity indexes. I look at VTI, which is the Vanguard Total Index, in a couple of creative ways. I do the same with the S&P 500 and then the Russell 2000. And then I've got my daily lists, which are very similar, but a little bit of a narrower time frame. A lot of these are daily charts instead of weekly charts. A lot of the market evaluation stuff is kind of a narrower time frame as well. But I have a daily market evaluation list, high level kind of market evaluation stuff. Then same list of global equities, a daily look at how those global equity indexes are trading, US equities, and then down into some of the intraday action. So 6-month intraday charts of the major US indexes, 3-month charts of the major US indexes. These are 30-minute charts, 60-minute charts here with the 6 months. And then we look at a very narrow term, 1-minute 45-day chart of those same US equity indexes. So these are some of the most important lists that I have in my account, and they are included here with the chart pack. Now, to give you a sense of kind of what these look like, we'll actually jump in here. We'll do 10 per page. These are the types of charts that you get with the chart pack. We have things like my intermarket analysis chart, which brings in tons of different asset classes all under one chart. All of these are pre-formatted. This is exactly what you get when you install the chart pack. You get these charts added right to your account. So this allows me to see how some of the different asset classes are moving and sort of those intermarket relationships. This is, for instance, looking at bonds versus stocks. We're looking at gold versus stocks. We're looking at commodities versus stocks. So the charts in this list are really sort of the highest level charts that I look at on a daily and a weekly basis. This sort of whole collection is what I look at on a daily and a weekly basis. We've got next up a look at global markets, how the US is trading relative to the total world and relative to the total international index, so everything other than the US. We've got emerging markets versus developed markets, including a look at emerging markets without China, because that actually has such a huge impact on those emerging market indexes. So all of these things, all of these charts are what you get with the chart pack. Again, the idea here is that you're taking the charts and the lists directly from our accounts and really installing those into your own account, copying them right into your own account. So all of this is what comes in the chart pack when you install it. So we'll go back to that dashboard. We'll keep running through some of these lists. So next up, again, we start with our sort of highest level weekly routines, weekly evaluation routines, and then daily evaluation routines. But from there, we sort of keep with that top-down analysis approach. We have what we call our asset allocation investors buffet. This is something directly from our book, Tensile Trading, where we've taken 59 of the sort of highest level asset classes, and we've put all of those in a chart list. This is sort of the, as we call it, the investors buffet. This is the whole set of options, investable options that you have available to you in the market. So this is kind of the choice that you have, where you want to put your money, some asset allocation decisions that you can make with this list. Next up, we move into what we call our permission to buy lists. So these start to get into the different states of the market. We're trying to address, how healthy is the market? Where is the market moving? So we look at high level concepts like trend. We can dig into, for instance, some of these long-term trends. We look at a 20-year monthly chart of VTI. We look at a 10-year weekly chart of VTI. Again, kind of narrowing down from that long-term perspective down into a narrower term. So now we're looking at 10 years of weekly data. From there, we go into 2 years of daily data. So this is sort of the intermediate term. We can look at some interesting charts like a moving average ribbon to judge kind of trend changes in the market. Right now, Obviously, we're seeing such a strong trend and a very, very wide open moving average ribbon moving higher. So all these charts are included in there. I like to look at something that I call my moving average focus chart. This is an intermediate term 2-year chart with 2 key moving averages on it, really. There is actually a third one on there, but it's kind of hidden out. We fade the price bars, though. We leave just the moving averages, the 50 and the 200-day intermediate term and longer term moving averages on this chart to really keep you focused on the direction of trend. We sort of filter out the noise by fading those price bars, staying focused on the moving averages to judge intermediate and long-term trends. We've got different charts for rate of change in here, things like candle volume, getting into some short-term charts. So again, all of these are included. We're not going to go through every single list and review every single chart because there are literally hundreds of them. But this chart list is intended to judge trend in the market. We do something very similar for allocations, what we call allocations. So here you can actually see some different ways to view kind of where you should be allocated. We'll jump over, take a look at a couple of these charts. Again, we have another look at that Intermarket chart. So there are some duplicates throughout this chart pack, but taking a look at which asset classes are the strongest right now, where you should really be positioning your money. A look at global markets, kind of similar to what we were looking at before. Different looks at the cap tier. So what's strong? Are mega caps and large caps leading, or are mid caps and small caps leading? We can take a look at some ideas like that. Growth versus value versus income versus dividend payers, high dividend yielding stocks. We can look at different things like that. Again, this list is really to judge allocations. Where should our money be in the market? So we can go back to our list. We'll pick up our pace here just a little bit, but we do something very similar, looking at breadth and volume and volatility. So this collection of lists is really intended to say, how strong is the market? Where is the market moving? And where should we be positioned? And it doesn't just look at the top level of, where's the S&P 500 going? By digging into some of those allocation charts, digging into things like breadth and volume and volatility, we can really sort of take it to the next level down, jump into some higher level questions about kind of what's happening beneath the surface. So all of those lists are included here. Next up, we have our super list essential pre-trading questions. This one basically answers or asks some prompting questions about the market. So what's the longer term trend of the market? These are essential questions that you should be asking yourself before making any investment decisions. What's the shorter term trend of the market? How is the breadth of the market? What is the participation of stocks looking like? So all of these questions are included here, and we have charts that help you answer each one. What percentage of stocks in the S&P 500 are trading above their 200-day moving average? A look at breadth here. How does breadth look on the NASDAQ? So we can sort of dive into all of these different essential pre-trading questions, things that you should be asking yourself about the market on a daily basis, and especially on a weekly basis. So some of those essential pre-trading questions, as we call them. We have key long-term indicators, what we call our bullish and bearish dashboard, looking at, we'll dive in there, show you some of the key long-term indicators are included. Things like unemployment rate. We have an interesting look at rates, kind of a new take on the yield curve, or a different take on the yield curve, 2s versus 10s. We look at things like the Fed funds rate, momentum, offense versus defense. We'll show you some of these charts here. You can see things like the unemployment rate. There's that look at the yield curve with 2s versus 10s, Fed funds rate, and we have a couple of other rates on there. So again, tons of charts in here that you get included. Things that we look at, again, on a daily basis and on a weekly basis to evaluate the market as a whole. This chart, one of my favorites, actually looks at offense versus defense in a couple of different flavors. So we've got consumer discretionary versus consumer staples in the standard cap weight flavor, but we have that also in an equal weight flavor. Then we look at technology versus utilities, another measure of offensive pressures versus defensive, and biotech versus healthcare. So tons of great charts in that list. We've got a market history list here, which goes back over some of the big tops in the markets for decades into the past, helps you study some of that market history. Next up, we actually have 40 sample charts. These are chart styles that we use in our own approach. They get added right into a list. So you can take any of these, modify them, sorts of make them your own, or you can use them as is. They really reflect kind of the chart styles that we use in our approach to the markets. We dig into the markets in a couple of different ways. We have intermarket lists. We look at large caps versus mid caps versus small caps in a ton of different ways. Growth versus value, always an important question. So we have specific charts that address growth versus value, how those two are moving. Again, breadth, something that we've touched on with some of these higher lists, but we have specific lists that dive into breadth across the major groups. So breadth for the New York Stock Exchange, breadth for the NASDAQ, breadth for the S&P 500. We have specific charts that address each one of those in different ways, different perspectives on breadth across those different indexes. Bullish percent indexes, BPIs, as you might know them, generated from P&F charts. So we have another look at some of the major indexes in that very interesting BPI perspective. Sentiment charts, we look into those. Always good to address, positioning, exposure, how active managers are positioning themselves, how traders are positioning themselves. There are things like the AA sentiment survey in there. So lots of charts to help gauge sentiment. And then we can really start to dive into some of those equity indexes. So we have the major US index ETFs. For instance, if we jump into here, you can see all of those right here. So VTI, for instance, the Vanguard total market, starting at the top level of the market, starting at that highest level and drilling down into some of the major ETF versions of those major equity indexes. The Dow, the NASDAQ 100, the S&P 500, large caps, mid caps, small caps, and then all the Russell indexes as well. All of these things are lists that you get included with this chart pack. This is, I will pause here for a second, a great example of when I'm saying that you can install this chart pack and just kind of use it for the symbols, the organization, the lists that you get. This is a great example of that. If you want to take these charts and modify them with your own view, your own indicators and settings and all that stuff for these charts, you can easily do that. But what you get when you install this chart pack is you get this list with these symbols. Instead of having to go and put this list together, you really kind of get it as is. You can install it right into your account and then use that as some inspiration. Start to modify it, start to make it your own. So a great example of kind of how you can use some of these lists, even if you're not going to use the charts that come along with them. You can start to modify and just use this as a great starting place to have a full featured built out StockCharts account. We do something very similar. We've got all the S&P indexes in one group, one list, all the Russell indexes in one list as well. We have a list for global and regional indexes. So looking at things like the EFA index, emerging markets, all those different kind of global groups that we can take a look at. Then we dig into some of the international indexes for different countries. So this is things like Germany, for instance, Canada, different specific international indexes that we want to keep an eye on. At a next level down from that, we have actually country funds. So these are all ETFs for a ton of different 47 countries. All of these, we'll dive into that one for a quick second. You can see all of these different countries. We have ETFs that track each of these. So a great way to keep an eye on the world, actually digging into some of the different countries around the world. And because these are all ETFs, they're actually tradable. If any of these look strong to you, you can buy them. Another example of how you can customize this chart pack to really fit with your process. You can use this as is, as we've set it up, or you can take that country funds list, customize all those charts with the indicators and the settings that you want to see. So anyways, the idea here again is that we're going from the top level of the market and we are drilling down and down and down as we go. So we have other asset classes here as well: bonds, commodities, gold, currencies, and cryptos. We have a whole list for cryptos. So if any of those are interesting to you, again, you get these lists right in there. The way that we use this chart pack, the way that we use this list is every week, every day, starting at the top and drilling down through every corner of the market from the top down all the way into the individual stock level. So you can see that reflected here, starting at that highest level with some of those sort of high level questions, long-term questions, essential kind of pre-trading questions, all that stuff, and then really digging into each of those corners. That's how we use these lists. Next up from there, once we've kind of drilled into all the different corners of the market, we have the sectors. Of course, that's the next level down after that kind of index level. So we have a ton of different lists for each of the sectors. We have a sectors list, which is the standard S&P sectors that you're familiar with. Things like XLK, XLY, XLU, XLE, all of those sort of sector ETFs are in there. But we can look at each of those sectors in an equal weight flavor as well. Instead of looking at the cap weighted flavor, we can take a look at the equal weight sector ETF. So we have a list that tracks those equal weight sector ETFs. Then we can actually compare those in some creative ways. So we can compare how the equal weight version is performing relative to the cap weight version of each sector. So that's a list that's near and dear to my heart. Another look at breadth for the sectors in an interesting way, kind of comparing those equal weight versus cap weight flavors. We do have bullish percent indexes, BPIs for each sector as well. And then we can look at breadth, new highs, new lows for each of the sectors. So a couple of different looks at each of those sectors, kind of as a whole at that sector level. Now we dive into each sector after that. We actually have specific lists for each sector. So these have the sectors in a couple of different creative ways, but they also have some of the top holdings for each sector. When we talk about quarterly updates, these are things that we maintain. So as those holdings are changing, we're actually keeping the ChartPack up to date with what those sectors are. If we jump into this one, for instance, we can see that. So we've got communication services here, the standard version of that sector. We have the equal weight version as well. Then two other versions. We have the Vanguard version of that sector plus the global version of that sector. This is what we do for each of those individual sector lists. Below that, we have all of the top holdings for that sector. So here in communication services, for instance, you can see all of the top 10 holdings for that sector, the largest holdings for that sector. We have charts for each of those to help you keep an eye on the biggest sort of outsize elements within each sector. So we'll go back. We do that for each of those sectors: communication services, discretionary, staples, energies, financials, all the way down. We have one of those lists for each sector. Now, below that, we have the Fidelity Select Portfolios chart list. So this is all of the Fidelity Select mutual funds. These are mutual funds, not ETFs. They are actively managed mutual funds. But Fidelity has split the market into their own sectors. So we have all of those in here as well, kind of a different take on sectors. That sort of sits to us right between the sector level and the industry level, those Fidelity lists, Fidelity mutual funds. So we have that positioned right below our sector grouping. And then next up, we have all of the Dow industry groups. So we have a specific chart list that includes all of the Dow Jones industry groups. So that's kind of that next level down. We go from the market level to the sector level down into the industry group level. So we have all of those included here as well, those Dow industry groups. From there, we dive into the members of those different indexes. So all of those huge indexes that we talk a lot about, things like the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, the Dow, we actually can track the individual stocks that make up those indexes. So here in the ChartPack, we have lists that track the members of each of those indexes. So the S&P 100, the mega cap members, we have the S&P 500, large cap stocks, S&P 400, that's mid cap stocks, and S&P 600, small cap stocks. All of the members, all the individual stocks that make up those indexes, we have chart lists for each of those. We do the same for the NASDAQ 100, and then we do the same for the Dow indexes as well, for the Dow Industrials, Dow Transports, and the Dow Utilities. So all of those are included in here as well. That, again, something that we keep up to date as they evolve. They do change a lot more frequently than you would think. Things like the Dow don't change very often, but something like the S&P 600 actually changes a lot more than you think. So these are, again, lists that we keep up to date. And with those quarterly updates, you can stay on top of what's changing. Below that, we have what we call our ETFs master watch list, a huge collection of ETFs that we just find interesting. We can run scans against this list. We can review all the individual charts. There are tons of different ways to use this, but it's a great way to find ETFs to buy. You can look at what's leading that list. You can sort it by scooters. You can run through all the individual charts. Again, you can run scans on it. Lots and lots of different ways to review that, but a great collection of investable ETFs, things that are worth kind of keeping on your radar. Now, below that, we have what we call our institutional dividends, dividend darlings chart list. So this is a ton of the sort of top holdings from big dividend paying ETFs, dividend focused ETFs and mutual funds. So we have a lot of those funds up at the top of this chart list. You can see those right up here at the top. These are ETFs and mutual funds kind of organized for you. And then all of the sort of most popular individual stocks that they hold. So this is a great way to find high dividend paying stocks that are held by high dividend and strong sort of dividend focused ETFs and mutual funds. So we have that in here as well. Now, that kind of rounds out the filled in portion of the chart pack. And below that, really what we have are sort of placeholders for you to start to fill in. So again, we see the ChartPack as an educational resource, a way for us to kind of share how we organize our StockCharts account, things that we do with our chart list and with our charts. So we have all of those here in the 800s and the 900s, also the 700, I guess. But you can see these here in the comments, all of these placeholder lists and a couple of sample lists as well. What these are intended to be is placeholders for you to fill in. So we have something that I like to call my like list. I've talked about this in the past. I maintain a list of companies, services, products, things that I like. If it's publicly traded, if there's a product or a company or anything that's publicly traded and I just like the product, I will dump that into this like list. It's just a way for me to sort of keep an eye on what's happening out in the world. I call this observational investing. If I stumble across a product that I love, for instance, maybe I'm buying shoes from Nike. I know that I'm buying a ton of shoes from Nike or something like that. I'll throw Nike onto my like list just because it's a company that I like, a product that I like, a service that I like. And then I can review that like list from time to time. And I'm always stunned at some of the strongest opportunities that pop up off of that like list. When you see strong products and services out there in the world, things that you are using, things that you are paying for, it's worth keeping an eye on that. Again, I call that kind of observational investing. So we have a like list placeholder that you can fill in. We have 3 tiers of watch lists. Our tier 1 watch list, kind of the dump bucket for stocks that pop up onto your radar. We have the stalking list, which is where you take those specific names off of your first level, the tier 1 watch list, move them onto your stalking list when you're really getting serious about something. You think there's a setup that you really want to trade, a level that you really want to trade against, maybe an ETF that you're really stalking, something that you really want to buy. You move that down to the stalking list. And then when it actually comes time to buy, you can move it from the stalking list to the buying list. This is kind of how we've structured our different tiers of watch lists. So we have those in there for you. And then different lists to help you fill out your portfolio. So all of the different positions that you own go in one list. You can also put all of your individual stocks into one list, all your individual ETFs into one list, all your individual mutual funds into one list if you have mutual funds as well. And you could do this for other assets as well. If you're holding other assets, you could take this kind of as an inspiration and create some of these portfolio lists for other assets that you own. Then finally, the last 3 lists in the ChartPack, we have a couple of samples. So if you own an individual stock, this is how you should be tracking it. If you own an ETF, an individual ETF, this is how you should be tracking it. If you own a mutual fund, this is how you should be tracking it. This is where we bring in some concepts from our book like the sister strategy. So for instance, here in our owned stock sample list, it's not just about tracking that stock that you own. Let's say you own Johnson & Johnson. That's kind of our sample here. You should also be tracking the sector that stock is in. You should be tracking the industry group that stock is in. You should maybe be tracking a couple of different ETFs that follow that sector and that industry group. And specifically, the sister strategy, something that we talk about in our book in Tensile Trading, you should be tracking some of the largest competitors, the close sisters, if you will, some of the sort of brothers and sisters of the family of that stock that you own. You should be tracking those, because if you start to see weakness in the rest of the group, if the competitors to the stock that you own or the stocks that are very, very similar to the stock that you own, if those start to weaken, there's a good chance that that's going to drag down your position. So in the case here of our sample list, if Johnson & Johnson is what you own and you start to see a lot of weakness out of Abbott and Bristol Myers and GlaxoSmithKline and Merck and all of those, that is probably going to become a sort of a headwind for Johnson & Johnson. If all of its sister stocks start to weaken, you know that something might be coming down the pike for Johnson & Johnson. So kind of an interesting way that we track the individual stocks that we own. And with the sample list, you can kind of see that. You can get an example of that here in the ChartPack, start to recreate that in your own process. So I know we covered a ton here going through all the different corners of the ChartPack. There is a ton to cover. I wish we had more time on the show to dive into all of the individual charts, show you more of what you can do. But the idea, again, is you get all of this installed into your StockCharts account really in one click. Now, it's easy to do this. You can go to store.stockcharts.com, click that ChartPacks tab, and purchase that chart list. $50. It is a one-time purchase. You get it. It's installed into your account, and it's never going to go away. If you want those quarterly updates, you get 4 of them for free. You get a year of updates for free. After that, you can purchase the ChartPack again, and it kind of resets. So you can keep up to date, or as we've been saying, You can even just use this as a great starting place. Use it as kind of an inspiration. Use it as an educational resource to help see how we've organized our StockCharts accounts, our lists, and all of the different charts that we use to track the markets. Now, we are going to be sitting down, Gatis and I together are going to be sitting down actually in a couple of weeks with David Keller, talking more about the history of the ChartPack, talking about how we use it, how it's evolved over time, and digging into some of the different things that are included here in this update. So we'll keep you posted on that, but keep an eye out on StockCharts TV. We'll be sharing that across all of our different channels. But that interview with Gatis and myself, sitting down with Dave Keller to talk more about this ChartPack. Hopefully, though, today's show has given you a sense of kind of what's included here, what a ChartPack is. This is a great opportunity for you as well to go explore other ChartPacks. We have tons and tons of these. Dave Keller's, for instance, is one that I have in my account that I absolutely love using. His morning coffee routine ChartPack, a great way to mirror Dave's approach. You can do the same thing with Arthur Hill. He's got his ChartPacks. You can really start to mirror Arthur's approach in your own account. So ChartPack, something we have done a show on quite a while ago. Maybe we'll do another one, but we're always adding more, always evolving the ChartPack landscape. So keep an eye out for more ChartPacks coming soon. But the Stock Market Mastery ChartPack, a big overhaul, biggest one that we've done in really almost a decade here since we launched the original ChartPack. So hopefully this has given you a sense of what you can get with that Stock Market Mastery ChartPack. I want to thank you again for joining me here on Stock Charts in Focus. It's been great to sit down with you, review some of these charts, review some of these lists, talk about what you get with the Stock Market Mastery ChartPack. Again, my name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com. Thanks for tuning in to Stock Charts in Focus. Remember, we do this every Friday, our product focus show on the channel, digging into different corners of the website, what's new, different tools, different features, showing you around every corner of the site, keeping you up to date on everything that's happening. And ultimately, our goal every Friday here with Stock Charts in Focus is to help you get more value out of stock charts. So you can tune in on Stock Charts TV, also open our YouTube channel after that, and of course the on-demand platform at StockChartsTV.com. Lots of ways to watch. I will see you again soon though for another episode of Stock Charts in Focus. And until then, chart on, my friends.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.